module and structure of the spaces, so that people can understand what can they expect from the session.
Yes, exactly. So now we wanted to kick off 2023 now with kind of explaining and talking about what we are building this year, what we're focusing on, and kind of this big theme of a change the new era of voluntary carbon markets. So I think that's our groundwork, and I think we have a very clear plan what to build this year. There's a lot of still technical aspects and market aspects that are still kind of coming into the form as the different parties are coming up with the new rules and new kind of guidances. So that's exciting. But on a technical today we're going to talk a lot about our tech and a technical approach to the market, and we're going to still start now with more of a kind of overall understanding of the carbon markets for anyone who still has some questions about it. But yeah, over to you.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for the introduction. So, given the fact that it's a new year and as Ranzu mentioned, the carbon markets 3.0 era, which we'll sort of shed more light on later on in the session, I think it's good that we'll start with a little bit of a foundational approach as to what carbon markets are, why they exist, and what the existential issue actually is. The reason why carbon markets were created is because they can be a functional mechanism towards the fight against climate change. Climate change as it stands is probably one of humankind's most significant issues and threats, but it can also be an opportunity for people to come together, and business as well be created as a result of it. In 2015, in the Paris Agreement, we set the objective as a race, let's just say, to keep the increase in temperature to well below 2.5 degrees compared to 1950. So let's just call it pre-industrial level. As it stands, we are well on track to surpass it, or at least go towards it. So as it stands, we are failing to achieve it, and that begs the question as to what we can do as a race, and so stimulating collective effort to basically lower it. Some of the what can I say, highest emitting sources of our global carbon footprint, of course, comes from the energy, as a, let's just call it as an umbrella term. So, for example, I have some statistics in front of me. Since 2013, the energy sector is responsible for 72% of our global footprint. Within that, you can find 15% from transportation, 31% from electricity and heat. So basically how we power our daily routines and our lifestyles, manufacturing, construction, and then as part of the bigger pie, you have also agriculture as 11%. So these are, of course, huge components of our daily lifestyles and our daily routines. And some of the obvious what can I say, chances and opportunities that we have are, for example, to switch from fossil fuels to renewable energy. We've been doing that for the last, I wouldn't say, probably this century, 20, 25 years. Of course, we're on track to improve it, and decarbonizing our electricity grids, it's easier said than done, as we are extremely reliant upon fossil fuels and what comes of it. So we're still a highly carbon intensive society. Another solution might be to, of course, decarbonize public transportation, or at least leverage public transportation more. So what can I say, decarbonizing the combustion sector, so decrease our reliance on combustion cars and switch to electricity vehicles. As everybody knows, with Tesla, we have more of a selection. Now we see that the biggest car manufacturers in the world have rolled out also electric vehicles, but it's I think we're still at the beginning of that journey as well, because with every opportunity comes I wouldn't say insurmountable, but quite a few challenges. For example, what we're going to do with the batteries, is the infrastructure up and running and necessary for us to transition to electric vehicles? I don't think so. Another one comes from agriculture, of course. So as it stands, our eating habits, let's just say, are unsustainable. We are too overly reliant on soil intensive farming techniques. we eat too much meat, simply put, and everything that comes with that, with livestock treatment, meat production, is just simply unsustainable. And then, of course, I think at the end of the road, we'll have the hard to abate sectors such as aviation, for example, shipping, and but as it stands, we don't have any viable, let's just say, green alternatives for those sectors, and I think those will be, as it stands. Of course, the term is hard to abate because they'll be the last ones to go. So the fight is quite significant, but it's an exciting journey that we have until 2050. And in these 30 years, there's a lot of things that we can do. But we're here to talk about carbon markets. So carbon markets are, Ranzo will then explain the key difference between the compliance and the voluntary carbon market. But I'm just gonna shed a bit more light as to the role that they have, as to why they were originally created. So carbon markets represent a solution for the short to medium term in the fight against climate change, and it's all pinned down. It all revolves around the role that carbon credits can play. So carbon credits, simply put, one carbon credit basically represents the removal of 1 ton of CO2 equivalent. So that CO2 equivalent, within it, you can find carbon dioxide and a bunch of other greenhouse gases. We're not going to go into that as too much of a scientific topic, and that's not the point of the conversation. And carbon markets were created as a mechanism to shift or let's just say the transfer of wealth from the highest emitters, basically meaning the developed world, to finance projects. Let's just call them pro nature. It could be nature based, renewable energy, and a plethora of other options, and transfer basically the transfer of wealth from the highest emitters, and to finance with those money, finance projects in the developed part of the world. And then eventually credits created from these projects will be used to offset, of course, that's why carbon offsetting, the carbon footprints of these individuals, companies, SMEs found in the developed world. But I think the overarching point is that carbon offsetting is not the silver bullet we need to do, and it's not, you know what I mean, the special arrow in our bow that we can use to fight climate change. If anything, we need to do everything in our power to first decarbonize our daily routine. So drive less, eat less meat, and probably bike around and stuff. It's easier said than done. And then eventually use carbon credits as a viable option to offset the remaining part of our carbon footprints. So I think that was a bit of an introduction. I've gone a bit all over the place, but I think now, Rans, I think it's a good time for you to come in and basically shed a bit more light as to the types of credits that there are, sorry, the type of markets that we have at our disposal for these carbon credits.
Yes, thank you. So I want to take a little step, not back, but talk something that you just mentioned there, electric vehicles. So this is something that we have to now see as one of the fascinating things that has happened this year and has happened now already, like on previous years. But the sales of electric vehicles are really going up now nicely, exactly like Eric said, that because of the other car manufacturers, mainly Volkswagen being super strong here in Europe, as well as Kia, and now Mercedes coming up as well. So besides Tesla, so that this is really good development. And here I would say that the shining light is Norway, Europe's oil richest country. Now on a December said that December sales of fully electric vehicles was almost 83% of all the vehicles, all the cars sold in Norway. So over 80% is fully electric vehicles, and it was so strong all year that 80% is even the year's number. So and then that ends up being 94 or 96% together with the plug-in hybrids. So the benzene or petrol cars, combustion engine cars in Norway on sales of the new cars anymore represents something like 4%. That's incredible.
That
Exactly.
is.
That will, like, mark my words, this will happen across Europe over the period of, I would say, next 5 years. So by 2030, the whole Europe's car sales will look like that, and that actually matches pretty well with the on timing wise with that the EU's now basically set rules or regulations, whatever it is now set to that you cannot manufacture in the EU anymore petrol cars. By,
That's by
2030.
2035, I
Yeah,
believe. 2035.
yeah.
Yeah. So what you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that is really cool to follow the way that Norway does it. Norway has tons of oil. They sell it all to oil hungry suckers, so to say, and build themselves very sustainable future. All of they have Europe's lowest energy cost, like 2 cents per kilowatt or something, and that's all from hydro. Basically, because that they have so many rivers there that they have a equipped with a hydro energy. So that's about like looking at Norway as a shining light there. But now when we go then to carbon markets, exactly like Eric said, we have to do everything we can, reasonably can, to reduce our carbon footprint, and then rest we towards the net zero. Rest we do with the carbon credits, like explained. And carbon credits, there's two types of those. So the one type that is the most kind of crucial one is the regulated these emissions permits. It's about 10,000 companies in Europe that are considered such a polluting companies that they are regulated and they get permissions to pollute, and it's about 4% or something a year that their pollution level certificates that they can permissions that they are reduced now. So they need to do moves in order. The government and EU gives them these pollution permits allowances, and then they need to act all the time a little bit better that they stay within their limits. And if they don't, they have to go to a platform called European Trading System, where these regulated carbon emission certificates or whatever is the official name, regulated carbon credits are then traded. So you can, if Shell does everything that they does a lot of work to move into renewable energy and reduces more emissions than their allowances are, then they have leftovers that they can sell to Total, who, for example, this is just a random example, and then Total can buy those in order because they didn't do any improvements. So with that move that they buy them from Shell, they can stay within limits. And 10,000 companies, car companies, tire manufacturers, cement, steel, energy, airlines, and so forth. 10,000 companies in Europe are under this regulation, and about 2,000 companies in North America. And that's a regulated market and they are basically securities and not traded, not available for us normally to trade, unless there's some derivatives. And then the other market is the voluntary carbon market that we are now focusing on. These two markets will on up, and this is another topic that we will hit in the next coming months, but these two markets will kind of get closer and closer together in up and coming years, and we will talk about more of that later. But now voluntary carbon market is, as the name says, it is the market that companies that want to be good world citizens or individuals and companies, they can now start to buy voluntary carbon market credits, and that way then aim to net zero after all the other moves like using renewable energy and such. Then they can aim to get net zero. And this is a serious effort that is led by the companies like Stripe, that Irish payments company, and they have, together with their partners, they are creating now 1 billion fund to basically support voluntary carbon market projects and improve the quality of the carbon market. And same goes with Apple, Microsoft, and Google. And companies like Google are working now towards offsetting afterwards. They were founded, if I remember, 1996. So then they are now going backwards, looking at their carbon footprint and aiming now to offset their whole history. So they can really call themselves kind of a global, good global corporate citizens. So this is what's happening now, that the companies, because the reason for that is, of course, Microsoft or Google are not regulated companies because of their emissions. They are just a normal large corporations. So now that's it. So now that creates the whole voluntary carbon market, which is very exciting and very much led by the kind of a forest based, save Amazons, save African jungles and Indonesia. Those are the big projects there that saves kind of the lungs of the earth, so to say, all these big forests and jungles around the world, and make sure that our planet stays cool. And on that market now, in order for us to stay, there close to that 1.5 Celsius warmer, that market has to now then scale up massively. We're talking, depends on who you ask, 30x, 40x, something like that. So
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, because just to give some numbers to the people
Yes,
listening,
please.
because I mean we delve into this on a daily basis. I think, of course, depending on the source, I believe in 2021 it was worth 1 billion, and then this year, well, now 2023, but 2022 it was worth 2 billion. And in order for it to have what can I say, an instrumental slash functional role in the let's just say the role that it has to play for us to achieve the goal of a 1.5, since pre-industrial level, it has to scale up to like 100 billion, right? So it's depending on who you ask for, but the bigger it is, if it works, the better.
Yeah, exactly. 20 to 40x then, or something like that. That's right. And in order to do that, this is now where it gets like, where we come into play, is that in order to move to that, now the market is based on very old-fashioned databases, very old-fashioned, almost like a traditional banking um, uh, type of structure there, that is not meant to scale like that. It's run by two main registries, Vera and Gold Standard, who has like 85% of the market, and all the assets are now traded through those registries pretty much, and they are very much OTC, over the counter trading. And we have had a history of double counting, and then lack of transparency. Very hard to create accounts, and accounts can only for corporations on those platforms, and other and the settlements can take days. Joining those platforms can take months. So this is where we have, and many other parties that works, our competitors and our partners have realized that, okay, wow, here we have a blockchain, which is a perfect vehicle or perfect platform and technology here to run two data sets, or even more than that, but run two main data sets side by side. Financial data that financial markets run, like successfully now on a normal stock market, but then on the side of that, sustainability data. So everything that has to do with the measuring carbon and keeping that information attached to these assets at all times and providing real transparency. And this is why it's pretty, we are 100% convinced, and so is many others, including Mark Carney, who was the governor of Bank of England before and now focuses solely on the carbon markets. He included that the future of carbon markets, voluntary carbon markets, as well as then the regulated ones, is on blockchain. That just makes everything faster, cheaper, more inclusive, and more transparent.
Right. Ransom, sorry to interrupt you. And then I think on this point, I think it's worth sort of painting a bit of a bigger picture here, because you mentioned the traditional financial markets, right? I come from that background. You too. I think people can see your Bloomberg terminals from your picture. We reached that sort of status quo. Let's just say the current conditions after what is it, 200 years more or less of turmoil, ups, downs, and then we reach sort of a satisfactory uh, state for the markets to run on. Blockchain, of course, run within the cryptocurrency markets. Cryptocurrencies have been around. The cryptocurrency market has been around. Let's just call it crypto market. It's been around for what? 15 years? 15, 18 years? Well, even less probably. 15 to 12 years since 2008. So, and of course, everybody right now is in the midst of a crypto winter, but we're not here to talk about that. And but and then within the crypto market, of course, we operate in a pocket of that because we operate the intersection of, let's just call it sustainability as an umbrella term, and blockchain, right? So, and the VCM, so the voluntary carbon market, being our domain. So given the fact that we need to achieve a specific target and we need to achieve such growth at such a quick and steady pace, I wanted to ask you, why do you think that blockchain can be, what can I say, the perfect vehicle? Like, let's just say the perfect car to get to destination without any breakdowns or pit stops, if that makes sense.
Because we have a great example, like you just said, we have a great example on inclusive, that anyone can participate, transparent and liquid market, and that is the cryptocurrency market. The whole crypto market is a fantastic example and a really revolutionary idea and successful implementation, regardless of now the market turmoils. Look at the past 10 years of this market. It's been amazing that you can now basically trade anyone, normal person and companies can trade hundreds or even thousands of digital assets in about 200 countries around the world. We have truly, with the crypto market, we have truly created a new global financial market. And this achievement is nothing short but the biggest thing since internet. So there's exactly these are the components that I believe that makes blockchain based carbon market huge success: inclusivity, transparency, and liquidity, tradability.
That's awesome. No, I couldn't agree more. And also, because we sort of dabble into this on a daily basis because that's what we do at the project that we work for and the project that you started, which is awesome. But it's truly sometimes you feel too small for such a big mechanism, right? And like there's a lot of moving parts. Nothing is sort of fixed in terms of conditions that you need to say, okay, let's follow this player, what they're doing. They've set the standard. Let's go. No, everything is sort of, which is what we love here at Likvidi, is learn by doing. But blockchain is sort of that sort of North Star that we need to follow and basically bank and found everything on to reach that target. So there's a lot of moving pieces. There's governments, there is individuals, there is tech developers, there is businesses. So I wanted to ask you specifically from a technical standpoint, how do you think the blockchain will be able to sort of be the common denominator that unites all the intents and objectives of all these players to then reach the common goal?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Great. Yeah, so, well, first of all, with blockchain, we can pool the carbon credits together like we do. We have the LCO2 pool token. So if you have too many different carbon projects as like different products, then it creates highly fragmented liquidity. So when we pool the carbon credits together under one ERC20 token, we have then under one token different carbon projects. It can trade as one asset, and then the liquidity is only in one place of the liquidity, and these carbon credits can then be traded in very permissionless way, so anyone can on our upcoming exchange, anyone can then buy these carbon credits and trade them. And you just have to complete the KYC on the platform and create your account, and you can buy carbon credits, you can trade, and you can retire them. And we run this system on Ethereum blockchain and Polygon, which are both permissionless blockchains, which means that anyone can participate in the network no matter your jurisdiction, country you are from. And also these carbon credits can be then listed on other crypto venues, exchanges like Coinbase or Binance, for example.
And addition to that, they are the pooling increases their liquidity, because then there's the assets are more these assets will become more popular. Also, that de-risks from one project, which is an important part. That when the one token includes 10 to 20 projects, then if something happens with the one carbon project, your carbon offsetting is not in danger.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. It sort of diminishes and decreases the risk exposure to the holder, right? That's what you mean. And
ETF style.
Now that this discussion, you got me thinking in terms of because I think right now crypto markets are quite still niche, right, in terms of adoption on a 8 billion global population scale. And speaking to friends, it's always, for the people that actually, like friends that are not acquainted with it, is, oh my God, I can't do this. What's a ledger? And it's quite a high technical barrier to entry for the people outside of this pocket of the of, let's just say, of this market. But do you think that seeing that climate change is such a commonly understood goal, right? Saying, okay, guys, things are getting, I mean, the climate, Earth is heating up. Things are too warm. You can't go skiing anymore. Or if you can, you only can do it for X amount of days and X amount of period. Blockchain in this case, as a means to an end, can be a sort of more digestible and easier technology, because everybody understands the common goal, right? As opposed to just buy into this project within the crypto space and you don't necessarily know what it does. Do you think that blockchain within this case can be more of a functional means to an end, Ransu?
Sorry, I got dropped off for a second. Can you repeat, please? Sorry.
All right, a simplified version. So basically, we need to reach basically a common climate goal. As it stands, crypto is still not being, the uptake of crypto is still relatively small. But in this case, we're talking about a commonly understood goal. Do you think that blockchain in this user case can promote a user adoption at a larger scale compared to crypto markets in, I don't know, 5 to 10 years within VCM?
Yes. I don't think that the current crypto markets reach is pretty good. I think that you maybe knows better, but there's something like 100 million wallets at least, or could be even hundreds of millions of wallets now out there. And so the challenge will be then not to go now too fast ahead of time with the, for example, Web3 fully decentralized solutions, because that makes then the barrier to entry much higher. So we need to now think that these services will be as easy, and that's our goal at Likvidi, is that we aim that the services are as easy to use as a Facebook or Coinbase or PayPal, for example. So or eBay, kind of these trading platforms or social media platforms. We need to get to that level so that it's really easy for people to figure out their carbon footprint and then offset that. Or then they can learn more and more and really have a black belt on trading, and they can. This can also for some people work as a new interesting speculative market, but speculative for good, for the good of the earth. But it can still be speculative and exciting.
Absolutely. And you were saying, sorry, with regards to blockchain, okay, let's just say crypto uptake on a global scale in terms of traction.
Yeah, well, of course, the crypto traction is down now from what it was a year and a half ago. because we are in a quite deep bear market right now. But currently the whole like world of like DeFi, decentralized finance, and NFTs and Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that is kind of like isolated from the real world. So we have a lot of different kind of DeFi tokens that can be used for in these DeFi platforms, for example, and then we have different NFT projects, but they are not really like assets from the real world, and they don't really affect the real world in any way. The only kind of like asset from the real world that we have is dollar stable coins, which are very popular, and one of the best use cases for crypto is stable coins. So I think carbon credits and other carbon assets that Likvidi will issue this year, like carbon forwards, are a new great way to onboard new users to the world of crypto. So it's a new real world asset, and it's just like token like any other crypto token can be, but each token is then backed with carbon credits from the real world. And there is a lot of different kind of products that can be built with these carbon credits on blockchain, like NFTs that yield carbon credit, or NFTs that are backed with carbon, and then carbon forwards, which are like pre-purchase contracts for new projects, and then just carbon credits. But of course, like the next big thing is how we can onboard the next 100 billion people to the world of crypto. And we need to have these type of real world assets like we will issue this year.
Absolutely, and that's brilliantly put. I think that's sort of it's a perfect setup for the next question being, and this is more sort of pertaining to Liquidity and our plans for 2023. Ransu, would you like to introduce the marketplace as a role, what it will do for assets, for carbon assets specifically, and what the goal will be in terms of traction for the upcoming year and what people can expect from it?
Yes. So what we see now that, okay, yes, carbon markets will grow massively over the next coming years, and we need to help on that. And our thinking now is that how can we help here the most? Is not just go there in the front and develop crazy cool new technology, but this is now the moment where we have to get already existing carbon projects, carbon market, traders, financiers, project managers, all the kind of stakeholders on a current carbon market. We need to now help them to move to this what we call carbon markets 3.0. And our focus very much is on this year 2023 on this. So that's why we're launching a kind of end-to-end solution that we call Likvidi Marketplace, and then comes the exchange to top of that. But the plan is that we are already now in talks with many projects and with the carbon brokers and sales companies, and we want to give them now the blockchain-based tools and interface on our marketplace, kind of a storefront. So we want to help them all to move or expand. Let's call it expanding now first, because the market is not there yet. Market will be building, this year and next year there on a blockchain. So this is now very beginning of this new era. So we are giving them all the tools from tokenization to sales and marketing, as well as then whole transaction, like a kind of an e-commerce part, that they can integrate tokenized e-commerce widget on their website to start to sell some of their inventory in a tokenized form. Then they can start to expand the assets to, for example, forwards, carbon forwards for the projects that are up and coming and needs to raise money now, so that they can issue carbon credits later. The forwards will play a role there, and they will be available to invest by anyone, individuals and companies alike. So this work that we taking people without any technology and without any upfront investment from their side, we are taking these marketplace partners to blockchain world. That's our number one focus for this year.
Amazing. By the way, anybody in the spaces can ask questions, and if you're let's just say, too timid to ask questions, we ask you to comment on the Twitter post about the spaces. And perfect. So I think this is exciting times. Well, of course, you can keep a track of our social media handles and social media channels to stay up to date with all the latest information pertaining to the marketplace. And I think in closing, would you be able to shed a little bit more light as to what the exchange will be able to do for people in terms of secondary market access for individuals that maybe don't only want to do good, but maybe also want to, let's just say, speculate and make a little bit of an investment for the future for how carbon markets as a commodity, let's just say, will trade going forward. Ransu.
Mr. Ransu here.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Say again the question. That was my bad.
You know, did you hear it? Otherwise, you can
Yeah,
answer.
you
Yeah,
go for it.
related to the exchange. So, like, well, first of all, the important part about why to have exchange for the carbon credits is that with exchange we can create real price discovery for the credits. First of all, so if we always sell and everyone that buys carbon credits with a fixed price as like a normal marketplace where like the carbon credits are listed at like $10 each or 12 or $15 per carbon credit. But when we have an exchange and then we have the pooled carbon credits listed there, which creates more liquidity, we can create a real price discovery where we see the price of the carbon credits go up as they should go in the future when there is more demand for the carbon credits, and buying them from these exchanges then creates of course the price goes up because there is like an order book where the carbon credits are bought from, and if there is more buyers than sellers, the price then keeps going up in the future. So of course, like, that's the important part. And as time passes, we think that more and more carbon credits will be then traded in exchanges and not in these marketplaces. So instead of marketplaces like primary marketplaces, we have these exchanges as the main venue where all the buying and selling of these carbon credits happens, or not all of it, but like let's say 80% of buying happens on these exchanges. Then, just like in crypto, we have most of the crypto happening, buying and selling happening in exchanges, and then some large buyers can buy large quantities in OTC markets. But of course, like these OTC markets always requires that someone first buys the assets on the exchange. So
exactly.
yeah.
So if I can a little bit also fill in on this one, because something that we are now working a lot now is this quality and a type of a carbon credits for the future, kind of trying to predict this and understand new market dynamics. And if I say now one prediction here, kind of to the end of this this session here, is that this and next year we're gonna see a significant changes on a voluntary carbon market regarding of the how we measure the quality of the carbon credits. So the market will the current inventory that is there around the world. It's hard to say how much that will go up, because it looks now like the countries and the kind of regulators and that type of institutions, they are now really working hard on improving the quality of the carbon market. There's a lot of old carbon credits still on circulation that are not actually ending up anywhere to get offsetted. And by the way, on that one, I have to say that much, that the Vera, compare Vera to Gold Standard, Gold Standard has a much higher offsetting percentage than Vera. And this is related to that there's a lot of old carbon credits that nobody should anymore buy, at least with thinking that now they really are doing something good for the climate. And this change, when people are now rethinking what is a good carbon credit, will be one of the big topics later on this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So, I mean, let's just play devil's advocate. Ranzo, what do you think that, just in conclusion, carbon credits, let's just say the premium ones or the highest quality, the higher quality ones, if they will sort of rise to the top, what will they trade at? So I think that if we have another spaces in a year, we can sort of listen back to this and
And
sort of make a
and
guess.
laugh at me. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So this is so the way that the markets are now on, according to our research and our current thinking, is that the voluntary carbon market that we've been now talking about mostly, and then what we mentioned in the beginning, this regulated emissions permit trading, these prices will become closer and closer, to each other. Reason being that in the future, just like already now in our understanding in Australia, you can use in Australia one that you can mix those two in order to achieve net zero, for corporations. In some level, you can mix them. If someone is on this phone call who knows that better and wants to explain us now how that Australian carbon market works, I'm all ears here, or we all are. But that will cause that when you can start to mix these two different types of carbon credits, that will put the prices closer together. But before that, there has to be some of these regulatory updates of what is a very good voluntary or acceptable and good voluntary market carbon credit. So now
yeah.
that now the prices are somewhere around $80, if I remember correctly, for the regulated European trading systems carbon credits, and then we are talking about eight to $10 for the voluntary market, somewhere there. Maybe used to be 15, but somewhere on that range. So you see that there's a long way to go even if the regulated market stays at the current price.
Perfect. I think that's a good note to end it on. Does anybody want to ask any closing questions or not? Otherwise, I beg you again to ask you again to comment on the Twitter Spaces post that we circulated about an hour ago. Right. Seems silence in the hall. No problem, guys. Thanks for tuning in. You can expect. Don't forget that we have another session with. If you want to announce next week's guest, Ransu as well, so people can expect what content will be on next week's session.
Yes, very, very good point. So Wolfram Menzer from Particula from Germany, that's a company that is focusing now on becoming a research hub, research platform for all kinds of tokenized carbon assets. And he's a co-founder, COO, and co-founder of Particula. And Wolfram will be joining us on next week, Thursday, at the same time, 6 p.m. CET. So then we will talk all about the carbon forwards and other carbon assets, and how the research on those and the kind of transparency will improve when the companies like us and Particular and others work together on standardization of the carbon token data.